Welcome to the Oilers live stream. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. I'm Jessica Kent. More changes are coming out of Oilers Entertainment Group on this Monday. Former CEO Bob Nicholson has assumed the role of chairman of Oilers hockey and will introduce Tom Anselmi as president and COO of business operations. Stay with us. We'll have more on what this change means for the organization and the city coming right up.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming today to Rogers Place here in the heart of Ice District. My name's Tim Shipton. I'll be your MC today. Well, what can we say? Another day, another exciting announcement for the organization. This off-season obviously has been full of change, and change that we're all extremely excited about in the organization. Today we announced two significant moves. Bob Nicholson assuming the role of chairman of the Edmonton Oilers Hockey Club, and of course welcoming Tom Anselmi as our president of business operations and COO. We're going to hear from the two gentlemen here, and then we'll have some time for questions, and of course some time for one-on-ones. So with that, Bob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks a lot, Tim, and yes, change is certainly here. You know, a few weeks ago I had the great opportunity to announce Ken Holland as the President and General Manager of the Edmonton Oilers, and today to introduce Tom Anselmi as the President and COO. Tom is a person, you know, his resume speaks for itself on the business side of how he's going to be able to help this organization through all of the hockey activities, but really within Rogers, the Ice District. You're going to see a bit of what you developed in Toronto, Tom, tonight with the Raptors game. And it just gives us so much more power for this organization. Daryl Cates wants this organization to grow. This is something that's been in the works for quite a while, and excited to have Tom on board. With my role, I've had 11 executives reporting to me before. Now I'll be working in the hockey side, supporting Tom on the business side. So it really gives us a lot more strength and power as we go forward. So it's an exciting day for our organization. Tom, it's so good to have you here. I know you're going to have a huge impact on this organization right away. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Bob. Well, thank you, and thank you all for being here. We spoke to the staff a little while ago, and the first thing I said to them was I was having trouble coming up with a word that what this all meant, and I guess it started with being honored, and in a room like this and being part of a franchise like this. I told them a story of when I was going to school at University of Saskatchewan. One of my first jobs was in Hinton, Alberta at a coal mining project, and I remember sitting there. It was 1983, I think, and I was halfway through school or something like that, and we were working with a whole group of guys that I'd worked with before, and we were sitting there watching the finals, and there was this young team, the Oilers, who took it on the chin 4 straight, and little did we know at the time that, you know, that was the end of the great Islander dynasty and the start of the last great dynasty in the NHL, and here we are 35 years later, and really embarking on a new era. You know, I was interested in this job for a bunch of reasons. One was people, and you know, Bob and I have known each other for a long time. He's somebody I respect immensely in the game and in our industry. You know, and people like Jürgen Schreiber and, you know, Kenny Holland. I talked to Kenny before taking the job to get his thoughts on you know, what motivated him, and so you know, really important on the people side. A lot of great people here, and it starts with an owner who, you know, who is committed to the community and committed to winning, and is prepared to invest to allow us to succeed. So you know, that was really fundamental to the decision. The second part of it was just what's in place here. You know, we've got the best player in the game. We've got a handful of players that rank in the top of the game for sure, and a good core there. One of the best buildings in the world. A hockey market that is you know, the cradle of the game, where hockey is just important to everybody, and so that was really important. And the third P, and I'll bore you with some alliteration here, I apologize, was just the potential, and you know, we're at a good time in our lives here. I've opened 4 of these buildings now, and you know, it takes a couple of years to figure it out, and it takes 2 or 3 more years to really become an efficient business and grow the business organically. And so we've got the opportunity to not only grow it organically, but an owner who has a vision that really wants to grow the overall organization, and those two things are something that was really compelling to me as well. So delighted to be here. It's an absolute honor. And can't wait to get started. It's going to be a lot of fun. Happy to take questions. Happy to chat with anyone one-on-one. And thank you for the nice welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll open it up for questions. Just raise your hand and let us know who you are. Terry?
Terry Jones, Edmonton Sun and Journal. And Bob, let's start with you. How does this change your life? And could you go into a little detail on the Oilers Entertainment Group global thing, what that entails, and just on a day-to-day basis, are you all hockey, or are you still have a connection to what's going on across the street?
Yeah, thanks, Jonesy. First of all, with the new role, you heard Daryl Cates when he was here at the press conference the other day. Ken Holland has full authority on the Edmonton Oilers. Ken will report up to myself. Tim Shipton's going to report up to myself. Kurt Hill with the Oil Kings. So it'll be all of the hockey components up to myself, working with Daryl Cates. We'll have alumni in there. Tom will look after all of the business within the organization. We talked about it. Tom and myself will work together to try to grow all of the staff that are here, all parts of the organization. But before I had all the executives to every part reporting to me. So now Tom is taking over the business side of that. I'll take over the hockey along with the foundation alumni. And we're also going to look at, as you know, Daryl has a vision to grow this globally, and we're going to look at other sports not in North America and globally over the next little while, and we'll have that opportunity and time to do that at this time. A lot of it's just in the works, but certainly we're going to look at different hockey opportunities globally. We're also going to look at other sports. None of it's in stone yet, but we're going to work on it, and it's going to give us more horsepower to do that in the future.
Okay, we'll go over here. Min?
Min Darlo with CBC. Tom, obviously the building, first class. Connor McDavid, you've got some great pieces on this team, but a lot of times fans have criticized just the vibe in the building, or just how what it's like inside as far as entertainment goes. Whether it's an exciting place to come watch a game. Is that something that's under your umbrella? And do you have a vision for maybe turning that around inside Rogers Place?
Yeah, it is under my umbrella, and listen, I've been to a lot of buildings around North America and even around the world, and this is one of the best. And but at the end of the day, the building's bricks and mortar, and it's about what's going on in the building. And so, this isn't a multiple choice test. You got to check all the boxes. We got to get the team right. We got to do a great job with our fans. And I've only been to one game here a couple of years ago, so I don't really have a good feel for it. But my sense is, it's the old saying, right? The hot dog never tastes as good if you don't win. And we've got to get the team right. That's the engine that drives everything, and it makes everybody's job a lot easier, right? And and then we've just got to have really well-trained people who are experts in hospitality. I talked to the staff this morning. We've got to be the place where everybody wants to work in the NHL. We've got to be the place where everybody wants to play in the NHL, because if you get it right with your people, happy people equals happy customers, and that's been proven 100 times with great businesses. We need to be a great business, and I think we're pretty darn good. Is my guess. I don't really know, but when you've just gone through the metamorphosis that this organization's gone through, building a building like this and this ambitious project and everything, you're just not there yet. You first learn to survive, and then you learn to figure it out, and then you learn to thrive. And I think with a little bit of luck and a little bit of what Bob and Kenny are doing, if these stars start to come together, people are going to have a lot of fun here.
Okay, thanks. We'll go up front here, Bob.
Bob Stauffer, Oilers Radio. Bob, this question's for you. So you're now the chairman, and before you were one of 3 vice chairs. I don't know how far down the road you are, but does this affect the positioning of the other 2 vice chairs, which are, of course, Wayne Gretzky and Kevin Lowe?
Yeah, first of all, Wayne Gretzky and Kevin Lowe are staying in this organization. You have 2 of the greatest players. Wayne is an ambassador globally for the game, and everyone knows what Kevin means to this city. They will not be involved in decisions on hockey operations, but I know Tom's looking forward to being able to, he knows Wayne and Kevin, but be able to utilize them. And I know that from the alumni side in many different ways that Kevin and Wayne will be used, but they won't be making decisions either on the Oilers or Oil Kings, but they certainly will have a huge impact on this organization as they have already and will in the future.
You know, if I can just jump in, when I was in Toronto, I had Darryl Sittler and Wendell Clark doing the exact same thing. And, you know, when you've got players like that that have given what they've given to the organization has to have a relationship with them. You know, do they run the business? No. Do they run the hockey team? No. Are they involved operationally? No. But are they an important asset and an important connection with your fan base? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want that attached to you? And so we'll continue to, there's no other way to do it. It's just they're so valuable.
Thanks. Mark, let's go at the back.
Bob and Tom, we're all aware of the acquisitions that, thank you. We're all aware of the acquisitions that MLSE has made with soccer and the Raptors and such. Maybe, Bob, can you equate that to what can be accomplished in a city of this size? Can you go the same route? Do you have to pick different things?
You know what, that's a great question, Mark, and it's something that Tom and myself have just started to talk on. You know, what else can we bring to the city of Edmonton? What else can we look at, you know, owning and operating in different parts of North America? Those are discussion points that we've just touched on, and it's going to be something that we're really going to build a strategy out over the next little while. Don't have an answer today, but it's certainly something that's going to be high on our agenda.
So I'm Jason Greger from TSN 1260. When you want to build out the business side, does that mean you're overviewing all the concerts and different type of non-hockey events, or is it strictly on the sports side?
Well, it's all of the above, right? Every event that's here, whether it's a hockey game or some other event, is a part of the business, right? And so, you know, you got to do it all well, and you want to grow it all. You know, hockey is, you know, 40-something games plus playoffs, and those would be nice, and they're going to happen again. And then it's about growing the event business as well. And it's like I said before, it's not a multiple choice test. We got to do everything, and you got to do it. You got to do it well. And if you do, it's magic.
Hey, Hank Tuff Jonesy will go at the back here. Adam, go ahead.
Bob, Adam Cook, CTV News. What excites you the most about this new position that you're taking on? What are you looking forward to most?
You know what, I really get to focus more on the sports side of it and a lot on hockey. And I really get to work with two great people, Ken Holland and Tom. I've known Tom, and I just think with the three of us, along with all the other executives, will be way more focused. From Tom on the business side, myself to the sports side, and that's going to give us a lot more energy and a lot clearer vision of where we can take this whole organization. So it's a really, I'm really excited today, and it's because of people. I went through that with Kenny to get Kenny Holland here. Tom and myself have talked for a long time, sometime maybe getting to work together. So when you get people that have the same type of visions, the same type of passion, and how they want to grow staff, how they want to have guest experiences, I think it's a real good day for the organization.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, Tom Terry again. Several questions interconnected here. For starters, you go back to the, I guess, the invention of Jurassic Park and that sort of thing. Can you compare what we're dealing with here across the street coming into being to what's in place that the country's watching with the Raptors? That's first.
Yeah, I think so, and I mean, I'm kind of getting to know it. I've only been in the, you know, in the room once. I mean, it's enclosed, so it's a little bit different. You know, I remember when we were first conceiving of the whole Maple Leaf Square concept. It was really about kind of concentric rings of influence, you know, and expanding your footprint. You know, we're in the business of limited inventory, right? We got 20,000 seats to sell or whatever. So how do we engage a broader audience in a bunch of different ways? And that's really what started it. So, you know, a 10,000 square foot sports bar with an extra 2,000 seats. And then the square. You know, did we ever imagine what's going on there now? Not a chance. I mean, it was, you know, but it's great to see it, and it's happening everywhere now. It's become, a real important part of the sports experience. And so here in the city of Edmonton, where we've got an enclosed room like that, that has kind of the best of both worlds, I think it's a really interesting opportunity. So now, that's without knowing how it operates right now. So,
Have you seen enough of the plans across the street here to be able to make a comparison of the potential here?
I saw it about a year ago. We had a tour here. I think when I was with the Senators, actually, a couple of years ago, we had a tour when it was still kind of under construction. So I got a rough idea, but we'll get into that over the next little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just follow that up? There's 2 or 3 things here that are in play with your new job. One is the season ticket situation. Can you identify where that's at and what the challenge is ahead here? And also, in some of the things that they've spoke to about where they might be going, who would be in charge of deciding on things like game presentation and that sort of thing?
So ultimately, all of that falls to me, and we've got a great team of people at the back here that have different components of the business. Some of whom I met last night for the first time, so give us a couple days here. But all of that ultimately ends up being my responsibility. And at the end of the day, this business is pretty straightforward, right? It's tickets, it's sponsors, it's broadcast rights, it's merchandise, it's food and beverage, and it's making sure that the experience of all of those things is a great experience for your fan. And when the team's not doing as good, season ticket renewals are tougher. That makes sense. I think we're at 80-something% now. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if we normally publish that. So if I did, I screwed up, but that's okay. At the end of the day, we're going to convince a lot more people that they want to be on board. I mean, the team here has a very robust ticketing business, especially for a market of 1 million people. But we've got to keep giving people a reason to want to renew every year. And that's what Ken and Bob are working on.
That's right. Tom, go ahead.
Tom Gazzola, TSN. Tom, this is for you. There's been, trust has kind of waned between the fan base and the organization. It seems, talking to a lot of the fans. In your experiences, how do you rebuild that trust between an organization and a fan base on the business side?
First of all, I don't know that there's a lack of trust. I don't really know anything today. And I'm, going to do a lot of listening and a lot of asking questions, and we'll market research and all the kind of things that you do to get a feel for what your customer is telling you. But I've been around sports long enough to know that if you don't make the playoffs, they're usually telling you that you suck. And if you make the playoffs, they're telling you they're happy. So we'll start with that premise, and we're going to focus on getting back in the playoffs as soon as possible. I think trust is really about doing what you say you're going to do, and doing the right things, and a fan feeling that they're valued, and feeling that you have their interests at heart. And most of my career, that's generally been not that difficult to do. It's about having the right people and saying the right things. And communication is an interesting thing nowadays, right? And we all talk about being great communicators, and organizations need to communicate and things like that. But the level of excellence required as a communicator now, everything has an impact on you and your brand and your perception because of social media, because of digital media, and all that kind of thing. So and I don't know, maybe we are great communicators. I don't know. I'm just saying, but if you're going to succeed in this industry now, you've got to be an exceptional communicator. You've got to be on message all the time. Tim's listening, eh? You got to be on message all the time. You've got to say the right things, and say what you mean, and say what people want to hear, and tell them the truth. And if you do that, you have trust. And then just deliver the goods.
Just another point on that, Tom. There was a lot out there around the organization when we didn't make the playoffs again, especially with a couple of the top players that we had. And that was, we did a big wide search to get Ken Holland. You can see the difference, see the changes that he's made in a very short time. He's still got a lot more to do there. I can tell you that this search has been the same. And Tom's going to bring an experience that we don't have to this organization. And I love the 2 things that he's talked about. He's talked about how are we going to grow the staff. If the staff grows, the organization gets better. And the other key thing is guest experiences. When the people come in the building, how do we make sure that they have a very I remember moment all the time. And so he's going to bring a lot of new ideas to that whole business side, and that's how we're going to really make sure that we get the fans, the community, oil country re-engaged at a level, hopefully, that we've never seen before.
All right. Oh, one last one just because, Terry, and then we'll close it off.
This just saves a whole bunch of questions in one question. You referred to the University of Saskatchewan and some connection to Alberta. Can you just take us through the whole schmear of your Western background and finish up with talking about moving here?
Okay, we're going to be here a couple hours. You know that, Terry. You know, I'm born and raised in Toronto, and my first job was as a cab driver because my high school wasn't all that good. I focused more on hockey and football, but I ended up going to University of Saskatchewan because I was working out there because the economy wasn't so good in the East at the time, and there was a lot of Go West young man going on at that point. And I ended up going back to school and deciding to stay there. I loved my time in the prairies. I've worked, and so I really started, my career started in the engineering and mining field. And so a couple of potash mines, a couple of uranium mines in northern Saskatchewan, the Obed Mountain coal mine in Hinton, Alberta. Worked in Fernie for a while, Lac du Bonnie, Manitoba. So a whole bunch of places out in the prairies here. And North Dakota, Montana. I worked in a phosphate mine in Montana, all in a very short period of time. And I came to the conclusion that mines don't get built where human beings live, and I like human beings. And so I ended up in the sports business with the Skydome and the Jays when that was this great idea back in the mid-'80s. And that was my foray into sports, and then the operating side and the team side. And so just like, you know, this business is it's evolved so much in the last little while, and you know, so Bob and I will talk all the time about business, and you know, there's a difference between accountability and where information comes from, and nobody has all the answers anymore. And in fact, you know, it's most of the people at the back of the room there that really make things happen and get things done. And our job is to inspire people, to have their eyes set on a prize, help them see through the fog of war when things get all messy and stuff, and teach and train and grow people, you know. So, and you know, we told the staff this morning, you know, that Kenny Holland is in the player development department, right? You recruit the best players you can, and then you develop them and nurture them and train them, and when they're ready, you give them the keys and let them go. We're in the exact same business, right? Which is hiring the best people, training them, developing them, and when they're ready, let her rip and give them the autonomy to do their thing. And then we make ourselves irrelevant and we get pushed out the side door when, you know, at some point in time, but that's okay. That's what leadership is about. And you know, my sense after 24 hours, and there's a handful of people here I've known over the years, being in the hockey business and being at league meetings here, we got lots of great people here. And so if I can bring a little bit of clarity and simplicity and some experience from what to expect after being in a building a few years, you know, and where to go next and how to think strategically and, you know, ideas for how we can grow the business, you know, that's really what turned my crank when Jurgen and Bob started calling again. And I think the potential is enormous right now, and so that's really exciting.
That's great. Thanks, gentlemen. I want to thank everybody for your attendance today. Thanks for those tuning in on EdmontonOilers.com, and welcome to Edmonton, Tom. Thank you.
Should we do the photo op?
Andy,
Oh, cool.
Now joined by Tom Anselmi, President of Business Operations and Chief Operating Officers of the Edmonton Oilers Hockey Club and Ice District. Tom, thanks for joining us on this busy day of yours.
Yeah, thanks. It's a real honor to be here. It's quite a whirlwind, but it's fun so far, and really looking forward to get going.
Tom, in a conversation earlier today, you talked about how there are only 31 of these jobs in the National Hockey League and in the world. You've expressed how grateful you are for this opportunity in Edmonton, but it also has to be a right fit for you. So why Edmonton and why Ice District?
You know, I've looked at a lot of things over the last little while, and this one just kept coming back, and maybe part of that is Jurgen and Bob are great salesmen. You know, I've known Bob for a long time, so for me it really boiled down to three things: people and who you're working with, and that's really important for me. You know, and that starts with an owner that you know wants to win and wants to invest in our success, and you know, great people like Bob and Jurgen and the like. You know, it's about what's in place already. You know, one of the best arenas in the world, and one of the one of the best players in the world, if not the best. You know, and a good supporting cast, a good core. You know, a GM like Kenny Holland, somebody who I've admired for many years in the league. And then lastly, just the potential, you know, not only about, you know, you're a couple years after the building's open now and sort of growing the business organically, but everything that's on the table strategically to really grow the business and you know, be a real force in entertainment globally. That's pretty exciting stuff. So really happy to be here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You're throwing some alliteration at us early on this Monday morning. People, place, and potential. Let's talk about potential a little bit, and the potential that you see here in Ice District and how far it can really go.
Well, you know, I mean, you're watching what's going on right now in St. Louis with the Raptors tonight. I mean, you know, the idea of the arena as a community center, as a gathering place, has really come to roost. And I think, you know, we probably helped kickstart that with what we did in Toronto with Maple Leaf Square. You know, never in our wildest dreams would it turn into what it's turned into, but, you know, making the finals will do that for you, I guess. And we saw it in St. Louis last night, you know, and so it's become really important for fans to engage in our game in a lot of different ways, you know, from, you know, sitting courtside or face to the glass to just being part of it, you know, and so that opportunity exists here. I mean, this is one of the greatest facilities in the world, if North America for sure. And so, you know, to be able to take that now and build upon that, and I just think it's an extraordinary opportunity. And you know, we got to get the hockey team right, and Kenny and his guys are going to do that. And then you know, we got to be right by our fans and make sure that we remember who's paying the bills here, and give them a great experience and make it a place they want to be. And everything takes care of itself after that.
Tom, you talked about your experience in Toronto. You have a resume that really speaks for itself. You joined MLSE back in 1996, overseeing the development of the Air Canada Centre, promoted in 1999 to COO, and then president in 2012. Talk about your time in Toronto and how that's maybe helped shape you and your career.
You know, I've been really lucky along the way, and just had some wonderful people I've worked with, and some great mentors along the way. You know, Maple Leafs sports was just an interesting thing. I mean, we took these two organizations and put them together, and you know, had owners that really wanted to invest in growth and wanted to win, and we did some of that. We did some of the opposite of that as well. But you know, for the most part, it was just a wonderful experience, and I was there 17 years, and you know, from you know, the team of us and what we put together, I mean, you're seeing the product of that now, and it's pretty exciting to see. And you know, that's why, you know, I couldn't say no to this, and the chance to do that again, and you know, it's going to take a bit of time, but I think we're on the right track. We got lots of great people here, and we got lots to work with, and that's what it's all about.
You talked about 17 years in Toronto. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. What was maybe the thing that you learned most about yourself in those 17 years?
You know, just work hard, do right by people, you know, do the right things. You know, you got to think strategically. You know, there's no shortage of ideas, just time and money and people, right? So you got to do things that really move the dial and focus on what's important to the customer, and think like the customer, or in our case, the fan, right? Like, think what they, you know, what's important to them, and you know, be a place where people want to work, be a place where players want to play, and if you do those kind of things and just do right, you're fine, you know, and that's what makes it fun too, working with people, and you know, young guys like you, and watching you grow and develop. I mean, that's the job we're in, right? We're in the people development business, whether you're a player or whether you're an employee here, and you know, that's what makes great organizations.
Alluding to your answer a little earlier in the interview, You talked about your relationship with Bob and others. Now, there's been some changes here in Edmonton, specifically on the hockey operation side with the additions of Ken Holland, Dave Tippett, among many others. What have your conversations been with Bob on that front, and how much of a factor did that maybe play into your decision of coming to Edmonton?
It was really important. I mean, Jurgen and I talked a lot about where the organization was going. That was Jurgen I really spent more time with. I've known Bob for a long time, but we talked a lot about where the organization's going, what Darryl's vision for it is, what's important to them. And those were the kind of questions I wanted to ask first. A guy like Kenny Holland, his resume speaks for itself. And, I've known Ken for a while. I spoke to him before taking the job and to really get a feel for what he saw as the potential. Tipper, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to meeting him. These are guys that have done it before, and at the end of the day, we're all here for one thing, and that's to win a Stanley Cup, to make our owner proud, make him proud of the business we've built for him, and to make our fans proud and make our community proud of what this is about. And when you do that, that's why this business is magic, and can't wait to get started. It's going to be fun.
I also think this interview is magic. Tom, thanks so much for joining us on your busy day, and welcome to Edmonton.
Anytime, thank you.
And that concludes.
And Bob Nicholson now joins me. Bob, congrats on the new position, Chairman of Oilers Hockey. I think just to clarify, what does this new role mean to you and what it means to the city and organization?
Yeah, really, I'm going to oversee the hockey, all components of the hockey, the Oil Kings, Oilers, Condors, and we're going to look at some other global sport activity, as well as the alumni and foundation. So it's really, I'm taking that over, and we'll support Tom Anselmi on the business side. Over the last number of years, I've had all the executives reporting to me, and so now we've really divided up sport and into business, and Tom will take over the business side.
Why do you feel that was needed to essentially divvy up your previous role into two?
Yeah, when you look at it, having 10 or 11 executives reporting into one person, and as we continue to grow, wasn't the most effective way to do this, so it just gives us a lot more horsepower. Ken Holland, we brought him in, and he has full say on the Oilers side of it. That was a long search that we went through, and this has been going on a long time to get Tom Anselmi here, and it's a great addition to us. So it's really about giving the leadership a lot more horsepower to, we've got the Ice District opening up, and, so many more great things for everyone in Edmonton and Oil Country to look forward to within OEG.
You mentioned that this has been going on for a couple years now. Why do you think Tom is such a good fit for Edmonton, for the Ice District and the city?
First of all, I've known Tom for a really long time, and when you look at his resume, what he did in Toronto with MLSE, and everyone look at what's going on tonight with the Raptors. He was part of building all that, and that's what we're building here with the Ice District, with the whole plaza going to open up, with the JW Marriott opening up, and then all the bars and restaurants. He's done this before. He's done it in the biggest city in this country, and now we're going to take it to a whole other level here in Edmonton.
What excites you most about your new role?
I'm really excited that I'll get to spend more time making sure that all of our hockey teams have all the tools, have all the right people to be successful. We know how important the Oilers are to this community, and we've got Ken Holland now running that from top to bottom. My job is to make sure that he has all the right tools and all the right people to do the job that the city wants us to do in that area. And then I also look at at other sport activities, teams that we're going to start to explore more, and it'll give me more time and more focus on that.
Can you expand on that at all? I know you're day one in this new role, but what kind of other sport and activity can we see?
Well, you know what, with Darryl, we've talked about lots of different, expanding what we could do in hockey. There's various leagues, various other areas that we can work on that, like we brought in the Alinka Gretzky, we brought the World Juniors in, and now we're looking at teams, and what we could do in Edmonton, we're going to look at that, but then also what we can do globally. Certainly, we're going to expand that search.
And finally, I know new GM, new head coach, and now new role here. Is this kind of the change that Oilers fans have been demanding?
Yeah, I think they wanted to have change, and definitely the biggest change is getting Kenny Holland here. You've seen quite a difference already of how he wants to operate, how he wants to reach into the city, and I'm really excited of where he is. And hey, he's still got a lot more work to do with the draft coming up, free agency coming forward, and you're going to see Tom Anselmi do the same thing on the business side. So hey, change is here. Change is an opportunity for our staff, and it's also change for our fans. Tom's going to bring in new ideas, so he's going to be speaking to a lot of people, which is going to make everything really exciting.
Lots of excitement coming to the city of Edmonton. Bob, thank you so much.
Yeah, great, thank you.
And we'll throw it over to Tony Brar.